Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 Dreamcast review. Today I'm not gonna make a bit of a tit of myself and try and do a really bad Japanese pronunciation of the Japanese name of this game, because it's one of them. Sometimes I enjoy doing it to present myself with a bit of a challenge, but this time I'm sitting here with a bit of a headache, so I'm just going to say this is The Last Blade 2 Final Edition. I honestly don't really know what the Japanese name is or how to pronounce it or anything. I just know that it's one of those games like the Parodius game and that I've reviewed before, where it's got a totally different name and different meaning and things like that. This one might have the same meaning, but anyway, enough of that. Moving on. Because it is the Japanese version, there's bits like the story and that which I just don't really understand, and there's one thing right at the bottom of the screen which I'm going to be starting with, to be fair. The first bit of gameplay will be the Hanafuda card game, and it's just, well, I'll get onto that in a minute. At the start though, you've got story mode, versus mode, time attack, training. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Same goes for an art gallery and a demo viewer. Options wise, you've got the ability to change the difficulty level from 1 to 8, change the game time to slow, fast, normal, or no count, which I always prefer no count. You can choose your rounds up to 5, you can choose vibration on or off, you can choose flash on or off, sound mode, mask mode, which and I explained mask mode a little bit in the Neo Geo review of the Last Blade one that I mentioned, and if anyone asks, I'll just type it up in a comment, I suppose, rather than putting it on again, because I did show it off last time, and it's not really anything wow-worthy or impressive. But onto the Hanafuda game, which is pretty much it's the sole reason I actually bought the Japanese version over the American version, because I'd seen a few reviews and they all basically said that the Japanese version is the one to get. It is definitely the better game, it's a better port, and it doesn't skimp on anything, none of the extras are gone, and I didn't really know what it was. They just mentioned it was a card game. They didn't even really call it Hanafuda, I believe, and the review already just said the Japanese card game. So I get the game, beat the arcade mode once with the character I actually chose here, because that's how you get it. I put it on, and this was presented to me, all Japanese, so I'm like, okay, this is going to actually be really difficult. I went on the internet, found out the basic rules for Hanafuda, and then little bit just underneath all the basic rules, the guy said, now to explain how completely different the Last Blade Hanafuda game is. I'm like, oh man, are you kidding me? So rather than just read through another whole paragraph of something that I just didn't understand, I thought, you know what, learn by playing. And do you know what I learned by playing? That I have got the most amazing beginner's luck, and I still don't understand how to play this game. I didn't lose a hit point. I at least know that your energy are those yellow circles, and I managed to defeat my enemy in 2 attacks, which, don't ask me how you attack, I really don't know. I just know it has something to do with certain cards doing certain things will then hurt them, and you then use that to beat them, and you go on to the next fight, and I don't even know how long it lasts, because after I won the first fight, I just thought, this just isn't me, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and honestly, I can't work it out. It's not anything that I'd particularly enjoy. I'm still glad I bought the Japanese version, because it's nice to have it as an option, but quite frankly, this to me, putting a card game in a fighting game as a bonus, is a bit like if Activision were to announce the sole reason that they kept going on and on about how great the animation of the dog was on Call of Duty would be because they're actually going to do a Nintendo style game with it. It would be just as insane as that, I'd imagine. So some people might like it, some people might be able to get grips with it and understand it and might love this sort of card game, but me personally, I'm not too keen on it. So let's move on to the actual fighting part of the game, which is awesome. So, as I say, from Hanafuda straight into the fighting, basically I've went onto the screen where you can see how many characters are. There's 16 and then there's 4 unlockable. One of the major differences between this version and, well, I suppose this version and the American version, but also this game and the second and the first game, because it's the second one, is before you had power, which was red, speed, which was blue, and that was it. You've then got on this one the green one, which is X, and it's spelled out EX, but X mode is kind of like the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds. It gives you all of the benefits of power and speed, but all of the negatives too. So it means that you are phenomenal cosmic power, but stupidly weak at the same time. It is probably the mode for masters to use it. It's the sort of thing that you would have to practice with it a lot to be able to get rather good at being able to use it. It gives you all of the benefits of the power gauge bars and that, because depending on whether you use power or speed, the gauge in the bottom left corner is different, and it means that you've got different desperation attacks. You've got a desperation and a super desperation, and I know this is all probably jargon to a lot of people, but to die-hard fighting fans, you probably know what I mean. It's, I suppose, the best way to describe it would be like having a super and an ultra, like you've got on Street Fighter 4. Depending on which version of the bar you choose, whether it be red power, blue speed, or green both, essentially, depends on how many you get and what you can do with it, and it just changes the balance up greatly. And the reason I said it's different between the sequel as well as the versions, from what I've been able to read up on, because obviously I don't have the American version of this game, people are basically saying that that isn't unlockable on the American version. You get red and blue as standard, but you have to unlock green, whereas on the Japanese version you get all of them as standard. So I don't know why they did that, and I don't even know if it's 100% true, because again, I don't have the American version. But it basically means if you're looking into importing the game, if you're in Europe, because I don't think it ever came out over here, it's definitely one of them that if you can put up with a bit of kanji on the story and that, and not being able to get that, it's got all of what I like to call important English. It's got everything like the names of things, and it's just basically you'd need to find a move list online, I suppose, rather than anything like that, because everything else is in Japanese, including the manual and that. And when you hit start, that's literally all you get, a start screen. You get to pause. You can't even quit or exit out, which is another problem with the Hanafuda, really, because once you start that, you're committed to it unless you switch your Dreamcast off, and in my case it then means adding the boot disc again and loading it up again, and it's just one of those things that it's a bit of an annoyance, really, more than anything else, but it's something that I thought I should probably mention to you, that you can't even quit out. So it's got pretty much everything that I, as I say, consider important English, the options and things like that, but it is just a few basics that you'd have to work out online and that, and I think overall you're getting a better version of the game, because it means you're not having to unlock the EX mode, if that is indeed true. You're getting the Hanafuda card game, which people might like, you might like it yourself, you never know. It's just one of those things that I myself don't, but I'm not everyone, you know, we're all different. And yeah, that's pretty much as far as I can gather all of the differences between the American and the Japanese version. I did hear a long time ago that if I was going to get the game, to get the final edition, and when I researched it, that is the Japanese version, and now I'm thinking I've discovered pretty much every reason why. Because I kind of glossed over it, I think in both vids, the mask mode, just to clarify before I get wrong in the comments, it cleans screens, I suppose the best way to put it, because there's a lot of fighting games where you can hit the pause button and bring up a clean screen where it's just the fighters. Well, that's what mask mode does, but permanently. So you can't see your energy bar, you can't see your power bar, you can't see your vitality bar, your gauge, whatever you want to call them, they're just not on the screen. It's just the two fighters and the stage. So it kind of, I suppose, makes it a bit of a squeaky bum mode, because you don't really know what's happening. You don't know if you're doing well. You have to gauge by certain moves. You have to think, well, how much did that used to take off me? And it's one of those, I suppose it's fun for a little bit. It is almost like a Russian roulette thing, but I think it kind of ruins the experience at the same time, because it can make you overly cautious and make fights last so long, because none of you is wanting to attack and you don't really know, and then one of you might think you're in a really good position and find out that you've just screwed yourself over. And it's just one of those, I don't really understand the need for it in the first game. I especially don't understand the need for it in the second game. I know that it is something, from what I can gather, is unique to the Dreamcast port as well, because it appears that the Neo Geo version of 2 didn't have it, but again, that's just from the basic research I've been able to do, because I've never owned a Neo Geo or the Neo Geo version of it. But overall, I suppose I should just say it. If you're into fighters and that, I love the first one. I think the second one is vastly superior in every way. definitely get the Japanese version if you can. It's a fantastic port and fantastic title, and pretty much everything about it, from what I've been able to do with my own research and with my own experiences, I just think it's a fantastic game. Graphically, it's not the best in the world, but gameplay wise, it's right up there with some of the better SNK fighters. I just think it's fantastic. Musically, it sounds really good when there is music, but on this stage currently, there's none. You've just got the sound of a waterfall, so I can't really shut up and let you listen to any music or anything, because it seems to be rare when it happens. It's all like atmospheric and trying to make it a deeper fighting experience, I suppose, rather than humming along with a tune, which I'm sure any Street Fighter fan will have at some point whilst playing on a certain stage, whether it be Chun-Li's or Ken's or something, will have just started to hum the tune, you know, and maybe that's why they did it for the Last Blade series, to keep it eerie and just to make it more fighting orientated. I don't know, I'm just throwing out wild guesses at the moment. All I can say is, I love it. If you like fighters, it's well worth a try. I think it's something that is very unique, and I'd love to see a third game come out, but maybe the reason I haven't is because a third game that'd have to probably go 3D, and then it would be almost like a Soul Calibur ripoff, even though it in itself is its own unique game, and it would be a bit of a shame really, because I mean this is kind of like Soul Calibur meets Street Fighter, I suppose, because you've got the zany special moves, but you've also got the awesome weaponry and the violence and the gore, and it's just, I love it, in case you haven't already worked out from the last 19 times I've said it. So I'm going to stop warbling on and end the vid there. So there we go then, that's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.